Absolutely. Okay, so this is good. I mean, we've gone through what mangroves are going through, but mangroves are, before we get into Mangrove Watch, mangroves is not the only thing Mangrove Watch is really concerned about. There's other sort of, on the website you guys mentioned, like tidal systems and coastal systems. What other systems do you, are important, and why do you look at these other systems as well?
Well, I think when I say mangroves, I really mean tidal wetlands as a whole, because it's all, anything that is in that tidal zone is in subtropical and tropical areas is occupying the same niche. And you have salt pans, salt marsh, brackish swamp, and mangroves in the upper intertidal. Then as you go further down, you've got seagrass as well in the subtidal and coral reefs. So tidal wetlands are one unit, one sort of ecotype, you could say, and mangroves are just a component of that. And how much mangrove you've got compared to how much salt marsh you've got is really just dependent on climate.
Right.
Right. Low rainfall, you've got lots of salt marsh and salt pans and a small fringe of mangrove. If you've got high rainfall, like in Philippines or places like that, you've got all mangrove and no salt marsh. So
right.
Those two areas interact over a time basis, and they're really important in terms of flows through the system as well. In Western Australia, where it's really dry, you've got massive expanses of tidal flats which are covered in cyanobacterial mat. People just consider this a wasteland, right? They drive their cars on it, burn their cars, and dump trash in there and build ports on it. But actually, it's really important because all this thick cyanobacterial matter just fixing nitrogen and carbon from the atmosphere and pumping that into the mangroves and supporting that mangrove fringe, which then supports the seagrass and the reef. And so it's all one big system.
Right. Now, why is it important to look at all these systems, as a unit, instead of just looking at the individual systems? Like, you see a lot of people, they're concerned with coral reefs because it's, they're beautiful, you get a lot of fish around them, but why worry about these tidal flats, and why look at it as a unit itself, as all these little habitats?
Well, I think they're often intrinsically related. You can have reefs without mangroves and have mangroves without reefs, but if you've got the two together, you've got an amazingly functional system that you can have fish travelling from the reef up into the mangroves and back down into the reef. You've got export of nutrients and carbon from the mangroves to the reef, and then the reef is actually providing a protective buffer for the mangroves, so stopping wave action. And so they all have links to each other and feedback systems that support each other and support the services that we like to get from each of them.
Right. So obviously, they're very important, those links. Okay, let's get into Mangrove Watch, because I think we're on the fringe of getting into it here. Let's start from the beginning. How and why did Mangrove Watch begin?
Well, Mangrove Watch has been a concept for a bit of time, playing around the edges, but the actual program that we run now, which is basically having communities go out and film mangrove areas and send the footage into us here at the university, at the Mangrove Hub. That started from me doing my research in estuaries, where I was comparing a whole bunch of different estuaries, looking at the mangroves. And what I noticed is that there was no real way of assessing these mangrove fringes, and also that there's so much going on there. And so we came up with a methodology that could mean that anyone could go out and collect information about mangroves, and that way we've got hundreds and thousands of eyes out there looking at mangroves, sending in information to us that we can actually use. Because what I was struggling with, I guess, is that I'm just one guy wanting to know about mangroves, and there's only so many mangrove scientists in the world. We need to develop a way of getting the community out there and being our eyes and ears and sending in information to us. And what I also learned, because I worked a lot with the communities up there finding out information, is that I could come across a patch of mangroves and be like, oh wow, these guys are looking unhealthy, they're dead, what's going on here, some chemical spill or whatever. They're like, oh no, a hailstorm came in here 3 years ago. And so by linking up with the community, you can really get a whole bunch of information that as scientists, you've just got to make inferences about. But because people are there, in that area, they're looking at this, they see these places as their area, they can tell you all sorts of things that you never know, and it really enhances our scientific understanding.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Instead of making that inference, you actually get the truth of what's happened, because local communities tend to watch what their coast are doing or what their community is doing, and they especially when it comes to the environment, they have a close eye on it.
And for mangrove communities, a lot of these people are fishermen, either recreational or commercial fishermen who rely on this system. So when something's going on there, they know about it and they want to know what's going on. So as you said with your program, it comes also out of people ringing you up and saying, "Hey, we've got mangroves down here. What can we do?"
Right.
And like, well, you can sort of do this or do that, and then but by having a program that's focused on giving people a methodology to go out and assess their ecosystem, and b a forum and a community to discuss with other people what's happening in their area, and an ability to see how this link in with the science, I guess, and see how what they're seeing is part of a bigger picture in terms of mangrove ecology, and how they can be then used to promote mangrove conservation.
Okay, so when you guys are planning this program out, a lot of times, being in the field, I've been in the field before. It takes years of practice for some things to be sampled. It takes years, knowledge of a good background, classes and years of preparation to get some field methods down pat, or to know what to look for. When you're using, how does it differ when you're using a community to take the information? Do you have to sort of figure out how they can do it in a good way, in a meaningful way?
Yeah, definitely.
That they can understand.
That was one of the challenges, obviously. A big concern with citizen science is that people aren't collecting information in a robust, scientifically valid way, and obviously it takes years of training to do that. As you said, you get a science degree to go and be a scientist.
Right.
You can't expect some retired lawyer or someone to go and do that.
Right.
And so, after various iterations of having people go and collect information in the field and write stuff down and measure plants, we found some people just can't do this. Conveying the information is pretty hard. So what we came up with is a methodology that completely takes away the objective decision making on behalf of our volunteers. So you don't need to know anything about mangroves to do Mangrove Watch, because all you've got to do is go out and collect film or take a photo, and then you can send that in to us. So all you've got to do is be able to get out in the water, love being outside, and use a video camera. That's the extent of it. But in the process, if you do want to learn about mangroves, we'll give you all the information you want.
Right.
So now we've got, we did a bit of a survey at the start of the program, and people who've been there from the beginning, they started off knowing a little bit about mangroves, and now they consider themselves experts.
Yeah.
All the species, they know, they've heard us talk about it a bunch of times, and now they're really getting to know what's there, and they can then tell us what's going on, because they know a lot more about mangroves than they did at the start. But the whole process to begin with doesn't rely on that knowledge, and I think that's a really big step for us in terms of a citizen science program, is taking the objective decision making out of citizen science.
Right. Now, when you first approached, who approached who? Did you guys approach the communities with this program and the option of participating in this program, or did the community say, hey, we want to do something, we understand our mangroves are important and they're being degraded or they're being destroyed, we want to help out? Who approached who?
Yeah, well, it's a kind of an evolutionary process, I guess, that from us needing information and the community wanting to do something, and then also we have these things called natural resource management boards throughout the country here in Australia.
Right. And
there's a coastal person there who's really advocating for mangrove protection. They funded my PhD, so that's pretty good. And so they're really pushing to get more knowledge about mangroves, because I think in the Burnett Mary region, which is Fraser Island, you might know,
right.
Fraser there, the last survey that was done on mangroves was some draft report in 1994. Apart from that, there's no information about those mangroves there. So it's really hard to manage a resource if you don't know anything about it.
Exactly.
So what we did was we just held a meeting, a town hall meeting, put it out there, asked people to come along, and we got like 150 people come along to these meetings. And that just blew us away, and we thought, we can do this. We've got a method. We've got people.
Yeah.
And we got funding from the federal government through natural resource management funding to set up a pilot program, and away we went.
Okay. Now, when the communities, they take their video cameras or even their still cameras into the field, what do they look for? What do you want them to look at? Like what kind of videos are they? Just taking videos of different species, or are they taking videos along the entire coastline, or what are they looking for?
Well, basically, if it's there, you can film it, we say, but we try to treat each shoreline or each distinct estuary, river, inlet as a distinct system, and then use those fringes as a transect. So you're just doing a big continual transect up an area or along a coastline. People have their video camera there, and what we also do is have a GPS that's tracking every 2 seconds, so every 2 seconds it's taking a point. So then you can link that footage up with a GPS point, and you've got an image there. And then the next time they take it, then you can compare the image, and then it's just like a spot the difference exercise. You know, I don't know if you did that as a kid. You know, look at these two pictures and see what's different.
Yeah.
Or you got less canopy there, or there's that tree's grown, or that tree's died. There's lots of seedlings of that species there. So that's just technically what they're doing, is just filming that edge with the GPS, and then that's the extent of it. But there's also we have special interest sites. On top of that, where if there's a specific issue, like they're about to build a marina somewhere and they're concerned that the mangroves adjacent to that area are going to be affected, then we set up photo monitoring points, which are again linked to a GPS, and people can put a post in the ground, set a camera on top of it, and take the same photo over a period of time. Because what we try to do is get people out of having to do plots and transects. Like, that's our job as scientists, really.
Right.
One people is just to be collecting the information, and then if we need to come in and do plots, we'll come in and do that. Because having 20 people tromp around in the mangroves actually harms the environment, we've found. You can do a lot of damage. You've got those short little breathing roots or seedlings that get tromped on. So it's best if you have this imagery collection and use that imagery to inform us as scientists, and then if there is a problem, we can come in there and investigate it further, set up plots, transects, do whatever we need to do.
Okay, so that's interesting. So when the video's taken and the pictures are taken, they send it to sort of your lab. How many people do you have to look over? I mean, we must be talking about a lot of video at this point and a lot of images.
Done a lot of clicking of. We break the video into frames, and we look at the frames as a sort of continuous thing. When something changes, then you mark it down. I've done a lot of clicking of the mouse, because you can get 150,000 images just from one river.
Right.
So we've got a bunch of volunteers here, undergraduate students, people, overseas exchange students, anyone really who wants to come in and help can help us out and click on some footage. And we start people off at a basic level: mangrove, no mangrove.
Right.
Substrate types, if it's mud or rock or sand. And then, as people learn more, you can identify species and condition and things like that. So it's all based on an index, and we make a report card out of that information as well, I should mention.
Okay. And
so it's just a bunch of volunteers.